You and I'm starting to record, so let me mute you guys. Okay, you guys are all muted, so we're gonna get started. So today we're gonna do page 220, divide fractions by whole numbers. It's similar to what you've been doing, except this time you're changing the second number into a fraction, then flipping it. So on page 220, it says Mrs. Kelly divided a half loaf of raisin bread equally among her 6 grandchildren. What fractional part of the loaf of bread did each grandchild receive? To find how much bread each received, divide 1/2 by 6. So she made a half a loaf, and she's got to divide that into 6 pieces for her 6 grandchildren. To divide a fraction by a whole number, you rename the fraction as a fraction with a denominator of 1. So we're going to write our steps. Step 1, make the whole number a fraction. I'm going to make it a little easier to write. Make the whole number a fraction. Okay, so first step, and you can't see my board, can you? All right, hold on. I'm going to unshare my screen and then share it again because it's not working for you guys. There we go. Step 1, make the whole number a fraction. Make the whole number a fraction. Remember, to make a whole number a fraction, you put it over 1. You can write that down if you want to for part of step 1. Make the whole number a fraction, and you do that by putting it over 1. Okay, step 2, multiply by the reciprocal. So that's when you flip the second fraction that you made into a whole number and you multiply. Step 3 is simplify. So if we go back to step 2 just means basically to write the reciprocal down. You're not multiplying really until step 4. I see what they kind of wrote your directions a little bit different. So then step 4 would be to multiply, and then that's going to be it. So first thing you do is you make the whole number a fraction, then you flip it, then you cross simplify, and then you multiply. And these answers that you're going to have on these are not going to be mixed numbers, they're just going to be regular fractions. And it doesn't look like any of these are going to be whole numbers either, because you're taking something and you're dividing it smaller here, so you're going to have fractions lower than 1, so just a regular fraction. So these steps kind of seem a little confusing. Just wait a second until we start actually trying some, and I think it'll be a lot clearer. It's the same thing we've been doing, it's just the whole numbers on the other side. And then you're going to get answers that are not mixed numbers, which for some of you is good because some of you are having trouble changing that over. So it'll be okay for you guys. Get that down, and then I'm going to erase it, and I'm going to do some practice ones with you. Tejal, you have a question?
So why does it say like reciprocal and not reciprocal? Because it's spelled as an O.
What do you mean? Just how you say it? How's it pronounced, you mean?
Yeah. Like, why do you pronounce it like that? Because
I don't know.
oh.
Reciprocal.
Yeah.
I guess it's just our southern way of saying it real fast, like reciprocal. I mean, you can say it the other way, that's fine too.
Okay.
As long as you know what it is. Let's see. Addie, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
So when we do as our step 2, multiple as a reciprocal, multiply reciprocal. So basically, when you say that, you mean that we do the reciprocal of the second number?
Yeah, basically. I think it's a little confusing by what they wrote because it's the same steps you've been doing. So if you want to rewrite the step is just make a reciprocal or flip the second number, you can. All right. I am going to clear this. So let's write down what the actual problem is. Half divided by 6. Okay, so write down half divided by 6. My screen is still not sharing, isn't it? Lord. All right, give me a second. Okay, half divided by 6. So first step is we rename the 6 by saying 6 over 1. And if you want to go ahead and skip it and just go ahead and write 1/2 divided by 6 over 1, that's fine too. Okay, then we do 1/2 times 6 over 1. So that's all the second step means, is to go ahead and flip it. Okay, so all we did for the first part was we made 6 over 1, then we flipped it, and we said times, actually I'm wrong, sorry. When you flip it, it should be 1 over 6, sorry. So we made 6 over 1, and then the second part, we flip it and go 1 over 6. So I messed up, so make sure you saw that. 1/2 times 1 over 6. And so then we see if we can simplify. We can't because 1 and 6 and 1 and 2 are already as simple as they can go. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 6 is 12. So your answer is 1/12. Okay, so each grandchild got 1/12 of the loaf. So these are pretty quick. I think these are actually quicker than the other ones you've been doing. Some of you are getting the hang of it where you can kind of skip steps and just go straight into 1/2 times 1 over 6. If you can do that in your head, that's fine. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do 9/10 divided by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 12 over a 1. Now we have 2 fractions to work with. Then I say 9/10 times 1 over 12. So I flipped the second fraction. On this one, we can actually do some simplifying across. 1 and 10, we can't do anything with, that's already simple. But 9 and 12, we can reduce that by the same number. For 9 and 12, we can reduce it by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Then all we have to do is multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. 10 times 4 is 40. 3/40. So super simple. All right, I'm going to give you one to try on your own. We'll see how you guys do. 1/4 divided by 3. 1/4 divided by 3. These are pretty quick ones. They don't really have as much work as the other ones you've been doing, so you should feel pretty comfortable with these. All right, so I'm going to solve it with you. Put 3 over 1, and if you want to go ahead and write that the first time you do it, you can. So then we have 1/4 times 1/3. 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 3 is 12. And then you're done. 1/12. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple more to try. I think you guys are probably pretty good on this. We don't need to spend a really long time on it. Try 3/5 times 9. 3/5 times 9. Kylie, you have a question?
You put times 9.
Oh, Lord, okay. Maybe we shouldn't have it so early for me because I can't get myself together. I wake up right before this. Okay, hold on, Addie, let me get to you. Okay, Addie, question?
Yes. So when we don't, if we can, so when we're done with it, if we can make it smaller, do we?
Yeah, anytime you can make it smaller, go ahead and reduce more.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do this one. First thing, 9 over 1. Then I rewrite it 3/5 times 1/9. Now this one you can reduce because you can do 3 and 9. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 3 is 15. So 1/15. Now remember, when you have 1 on top, that's as simple as it can go. So if you already have 1 on top, you don't need to worry about reducing anymore. That's as small as it's going to get. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. You guys are good on this. I don't think you really need more of this instruction. I want you to go ahead and get out your science book because I want to talk about the rock cycle with you for a couple minutes. And then I'll let you guys go a little bit early because it's Friday. And you guys are so smart, I don't really need to do more of this with you today. So let me figure out what page I want you guys to get on in your science book real quick. I think it's C50. And some of you guys I messaged this morning, I put the wrong page number up for you. I put like C50 to 57. I don't know what I was doing because the other part of it was right. So I think it's C50 to 53 is what you're doing today. C50 to 53. So on page C50, get there with me and let's kind of talk about this. Remember, your vocab test is going to be on Tuesday. So that's going to be the words like rock cycle, igneous rock, metamorphic rock, all of those words. Then you'll have your math test next Friday, which is a week from today. So then we'll look after that at a test for this, which we're on the last lesson, so we'll have to see. All right, so look at how rocks change on C50 with me. Processes that cause change. Now, normally if we were doing this in class, we would do like a rock cycle kind of diagram. I'll kind of draw one out with you, but unfortunately we can't do everything we would have done in class because we're not there together. So look at the page C50 at the top. Rocks are always changing, however, the changes usually happen so slowly that you would never notice them. It can take thousands of years for a rock to weather and erode. It can take many more years for the eroded pieces to be changed into sedimentary rock. You learned in lesson 2 that high heat and pressure can change rocks. Sometimes the rocks get hot enough to melt completely. When this melted rock cools and hardens, it has changed from metamorphic to igneous. It usually takes many years for rock to be buried deep enough inside Earth to melt. A rock can begin as one type and be changed many times. You made a model of these changes in the investigation. Instead of a few minutes, however, changes can take many thousands of years. Some parts of the first rock, however, will still be there after each change. So rocks can change. They can change from metamorphic to igneous and igneous to sedimentary, and all those kinds of changes happen over a long period of time. It doesn't just happen quickly. It takes thousands of years. So follow the arrows with me. This is important, and this is something we would have done in class together. Look at the volcano first. Follow the blue arrows to learn about the changes that might happen to one rock. So you see the volcano, and we know that a volcano makes igneous rock, because when it cools either quickly or slowly to make fine-grained or coarse-grained. Basalt forms when lava quickly cools and hardens at Earth's surface. Basalt is the most common igneous rock on Earth. Okay, so follow the arrow down to the tree. Tree roots weather the basalt by growing into the rock and breaking it into pieces. Freezing and thawing and rain also weather the rock. So over time, the rock gets weathered by wind and water and freezing and thawing. Wind or rain carries the weathered pieces of basalt to the river. The river carries the pieces downstream. As they move, they bump into one another. Jagged edges are slowly rounded off. When the river slows down, the water deposits the rounded pieces as sediments on the bottom. Over time, the sediments are compacted and squeezed and cemented or stuck together to form a sedimentary rock called conglomerate. Heat and pressure change the sedimentary rock into metamorphic rock. When metamorphic rock melts completely and then cools and hardens, it becomes igneous rock. It can still be changed again and again. So what happens is the igneous rock gets weathered. Eventually, little pieces of it might end up in the river. Eventually, as the river slows down, it gets deposited where it makes sedimentary rock because it gets stuck in layers. Eventually, it gets buried deep enough where the heat and pressure make it metamorphic rock. Then the metamorphic rock melts, turns back into igneous. So the rocks can change over and over depending on what kind of environment they're in. All right, turn the page. The rock cycle is basically what we just talked about. The diagram below on the next page shows never-ending rock changes that are called the rock cycle. Notice that many arrows lead from each rock type. This shows that there is more than one path through the rock cycle. As rocks move through the rock cycle, the materials that make them up are used over and over. Look at the diagram. Try to find where rocks are squeezed. Also notice where sticking together might take place, where rocks melt, and where rocks are under heat and pressure. As you study the diagram, remember that all of these processes take a very long time. So this is basically what we just read, except this time it shows you all the different ways it can happen. So if you start with quartzite and you follow it from with the red arrow going down, quartzite starts as a metamorphic rock. Heat and pressure can change it into andesite. If we follow the blue arrow, it can be changed into a sedimentary rock called sandstone. Then if we follow the red arrow back, enough heat and pressure can change it back to andesite. Andesite can be changed back into quartzite. So basically what you need to know on this is that rocks can be changed all the time. A metamorphic rock that goes through weathering and gets deposited can change into a sedimentary rock. A sedimentary rock that goes through a lot of heat and pressure can change into metamorphic. A metamorphic can change into either one of those. So depending on what kind of environments it's in and what kind of things it goes through, it can change. So look at 1 through 5, what you have today. What is the rock cycle? That's an easy one. Just do your vocab sentence for that. 2, what part do volcanoes play in the rock cycle? So for that one, think about what kind of rocks volcanoes form. They form a certain kind of rock. So for number 2, think about that. Number 3, what is one thing that can change a rock to metamorphic rock? Well, you know what we just talked about, and you can look back into the rock cycle or on the page before. And there's 2 things, but they go together, that change a rock into metamorphic rock. Number 4, how might a sandstone change into another sandstone? So this one, you're going to have to follow the rock cycle that you see at the top of this page. So sandstone, it gives you the arrows. It says if sandstone is weathered and eroded, the minerals that made up the rock may be used in sedimentary rock. So that one kind of gives you that answer. Just think about the rock cycle and think about how sandstone can break down and how those broken down pieces can form into another sandstone. Number 5, what starts the change from an igneous rock to a sedimentary rock? Which one of those is going to start the process of changing it into a sedimentary rock, which we know is in layers? Okay, so that's what you're going to do today. It's just a homework grade, so if you get confused, don't worry too much about it. On Monday, we'll do some notes and stuff with this. And then Tuesday, you have your vocab test. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll review, maybe watch some videos, and we'll have your test the next week, okay? So your test won't be next week on this, it'll be the next week, and I'll put it on Dojo for you when we get closer. So that's it for today. I'm gonna go and unlock right now your Shobi for math and tell you what it is. Some of you I told before we got started. It's page 221, 4 through 11. It's just 2 rows of those problems. I'm telling you, these are a lot easier, I think, and I think you guys will be able to do these a lot quicker. Okay, so it's unlocked. If you did not see where I changed the science, I accidentally put C57 in it. It is C53. I'm getting confused with you guys in 4th grade, and they're doing weather, and I mistyped something yesterday and put weather instead of water because I have weather on the mind. So I'm going to unmute you guys. If you have any questions, you can ask. If not, you guys can go start working. Maybe get done a little early. Okay, you're unmuted. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Addie, question.
My question is that when we do wait, when is our math test? That's my first question.
A week from today, so next Friday.
Next Friday, and on what?
Dividing fractions. So everything we've been doing with dividing fractions.
Okay, well, and I have one more question. The last question is, when I answered number 2, I have a lengthy answer. It goes from like how volcanoes make the basalt igneous rock, and it goes through the whole cycle being changed into sedimentary, the metamorphic, and then back into, and then the volcanoes turn it back into an igneous rock. And then I said without volcanoes, the cycle wouldn't be able to move on, and the metamorphic couldn't change back into igneous.
That's fine. It's better to have more info than not enough, right?
Yep.
Kylie, you have a question?
When are you going to give us the notes on science?
We'll do it Monday.
Okay.
Wait, when is our science test?
It'll be the week after next week, so you have still a week.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna finish up reviewing all of this stuff and do some more studying, and we'll take the test the week after next.